Have you ever felt like life keeps testing you, non-stop? You wake up already feeling tired. You rush out the door only to get stuck in traffic. You show up late to work and someone's already criticizing you before you can even respond to your emails. Then you scroll through your phone, see a negative comment or worse. You start comparing your life to someone else's dreamlike life, and within the first few hours of the day, your emotions have been pulled in every direction. You're exhausted. You're drained. And sometimes it feels like you're losing control of your life. But wait, what if the problem isn't that life is too chaotic, but we were never trained how to respond to it? I'm not here to tell you to just think positive. I'm not here to throw empty slogans like "be strong." I'm here to share something that can completely shift the way you live, the way you see yourself, and the way you handle challenges in modern life. A philosophy that's been around for over 2,000 years, not born in classrooms, but forged on battlefields, politics, and the pain of people who walked through loss and made conscious choices. That philosophy is called Stoicism. And no, it's not about suppressing emotions or becoming numb. It's the opposite. It teaches you how to manage your emotions, control your thoughts, and master your reactions, so you can stay calm even when life is falling apart. In this video, we'll go through 7 Stoic principles, not just to read them, but to live them. Because if you've ever felt like you get angry too quickly or feel lost easily, you lose sleep over what others say, you lose motivation halfway through your goals, or you feel disconnected from yourself, then this is when you need a life system, one that doesn't shake every time the outside world does. And that's what Stoicism gives you. Not unquestioning belief, but an inner compass. Not an escape from life, but a way to face it with intention. So treat this video like a journey. Each principle is a checkpoint, unlocking a deeper part of yourself. And if you genuinely want change, listen, feel, and try applying each one. Because even a slight shift inside you can create changes in your outer life that you never expected. And now let's begin with the very first truth. When life knocks you down, blocks your path, or slams a door in your face, will you give up? Or will you turn that obstacle into a turning point? The obstacle to action becomes the action. Marcus Aurelius. Rule number 1. Turn obstacles into opportunities. What allowed Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor ruling the entire empire, to stay calm in the face of war, plague, betrayal, and deep loneliness? It wasn't power. It wasn't status. It was a straightforward phrase he repeated to himself every day. The obstacle to action becomes the action. What stands in the way becomes the way. That might sound like a contradiction. We're used to thinking of obstacles as something that blocks our path. But Marcus believed the obstacle is the path. How most people react. They fail and think, "I'm not good enough." They get rejected and say, "Maybe I don't have any worth." They experience loss and believe, "I'll never get through this." But a Stoic doesn't ask, "Why is this happening to me?" They ask, "What can I learn from this?" Modern psychology backs this up. Psychologists call it the growth mindset. And Carl Jung once said, "What you resist persists." What does that mean? It means the more you avoid or get angry at adversity, the more power you give it. But when you pause, look directly at the obstacle and ask, "What is this here to teach me?" You take your power back. Real-life example. When a door slams shut, let's say you just got rejected in a job interview. Now, you have a choice. You could sit there and blame yourself. You could drown in disappointment and self-doubt, or you could review your answers, notice what you missed, figure out what you need to improve, and show up next time as a stronger version of yourself. That moment of rejection, it is the turning point to something better. A mindset that transforms your life. Seneca once said, "It's not because things are difficult that we don't dare to do them. Because we don't dare to do them, they become difficult." We fear failure. We fear being judged. So the moment we hit an obstacle, we turn back. And life, which was meant to be a meaningful journey, slowly turns into a cycle of playing it safe. So what should you do when you face an obstacle? 1-to-1, pause and take a deep breath. Interrupt that first emotional reaction. 2, ask yourself, what is this situation trying to teach me? Am I reacting or am I learning? 3, write it down. Capture what you felt and what you'll do differently next time. Take action, even a small one. Send the application again. Make that phone call. Adjust the plan. Redo the assignment. When the obstacle becomes the way, just imagine, what if Thomas Edison gave up after his 1,000th failed attempt at inventing the light bulb? What if Nelson Mandela quit after 27 years in prison? What if you gave up just because of one rejection, one heartbreak? Marcus Aurelius didn't write these words like a lecture. He wrote them in his private journal. On cold nights in the middle of the battlefield, when he wasn't even sure he'd live to see the next day. So if obstacles are a natural part of life, what keeps us from being crushed by them? The answer is presence, the ability to live fully in this moment. You can't overcome an obstacle if your mind is stuck in the past or paralyzed by fear of the future. And that brings us to Stoic rule number 2. Live fully in the present moment with awareness and intention. How often are you here, but not really here? How many times have you been doing one thing, but your mind was somewhere else? You're eating, but thinking about a deadline. You're sitting with loved ones, but your eyes are glued to your phone. You're trying to sleep, but your mind is racing with tomorrow's worries and yesterday's regrets. Physically present, mentally absent. And that's how life is being stolen from us, moment by moment. The Stoic philosophy on presence. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Don't waste time wondering how others are living. Focus on living rightly, right here, right now." Stoicism makes it clear. The only power you truly have is this moment. You can't change the past. You can't control the future, but you can choose how you live right now. Why is it so hard to be present? Because we've been trained to multitask, especially with our emotions. We eat while scrolling TikTok. We meet friends, but think about emails we haven't answered. We rest, but our mind keeps working. We live a half life, half here, half somewhere else. This inner split makes us always feel like something's missing, always busy, but not productive, alive, but not living. What psychology says about presence. Modern psychology calls this mind wandering. And studies have shown the more your mind wanders, the less happy you are, no matter what you do. But when you entirely focus on the present, your sense of peace and connection rises dramatically. Carl Jung once said, "The little things with meaning are more important than big things with none." So what does it mean to truly live fully? It doesn't mean slowing everything down. It doesn't mean throwing your phone away or becoming a monk. It simply means showing up entirely for whatever you're doing. It means enjoying a meal and truly tasting each bite, having a conversation and listening, sitting in the rain and allowing yourself to feel it. No thinking about what's next, no guilt about what should have happened, just being here, right now, with your whole self. Practicing presence, one moment at a time. If presence is the key to peace, how do we practice it? Here are 3 simple ways to begin. 1. Pause for 5 seconds before you act. Take a slow breath. Feel your body. Let your awareness catch up to your movement. 2. Eat without your phone. Pay attention to flavors. Feel the texture. Be thankful. Turn a meal into a moment. 3. Give yourself 5 minutes of nothing. Sit still, no podcasts, no scrolling. Just breathe and let your thoughts drift by like clouds. Seneca once said, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without depending on what's yet to come." But let's be honest, most people wait for the perfect moment to finally start living, waiting for life to slow down, for circumstances to align, for some version of tomorrow that may never arrive. The truth? Only the now is real. This is where life is, where love is, where change begins. We live in a world of endless distractions. Today, our greatest struggle isn't time, it's attention. Everything is fighting for your focus. Notifications, messages, opinions, noise, drama. So to be here, fully, quietly, intentionally, has become a form of resistance, a way of reclaiming yourself, a way of saying, this moment matters. But here's the more profound truth. Once you learn to value the present moment, you'll see just how easily it slips away, dragged off by habit, by impulse, by noise. And the only thing strong enough to protect it, it isn't motivation, it's not willpower, it's discipline. Because without discipline, you'll be pulled away from what matters most, again and again, which is precisely why we now turn to Stoic rule number 3. Self-discipline is freedom. Have you ever felt like you know what's right, but still don't do it? You want to wake up early but hit snooze. You plan to eat healthy but end up eating out of boredom. You want to disconnect from social media to focus, but your hand keeps scrolling mindlessly. Does that feel familiar? That's the gap between intention and action. And the only thing that can fill that gap is self-discipline. What is discipline? It's not rigidity. It's not forcing yourself to suffer. Discipline is the strength to align with your beliefs, even when you don't feel like it. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, once wrote, "You were born not to lie in warm blankets, but to work as a human being." Sounds cold? Maybe, but he wrote these words to himself whenever he wanted to quit, procrastinate, or give up. Discipline doesn't kill emotion, it protects values. Think about this. Freedom doesn't come from doing whatever you want. Freedom comes from doing what's right, even when it's hard. You live by emotion, temptation, and reaction when you lack discipline, and that makes it easy to lose yourself. So where does discipline lead? When you're disciplined with sleep, you have the health to create. When you're disciplined with your words, you build lasting relationships. When disciplined with time, you begin to live slowly, but meaningfully. Discipline is the path to self-mastery, peace, and actual achievement. The Stoic philosophy on discipline. Seneca once said, "We do not control the world, but we can control ourselves." Epictetus emphasized, "Nothing great is achieved suddenly." They didn't speak of discipline as suffering. They spoke of discipline as a way of life, to protect the most critical thing, virtue. In a world where everything is addictive, we're living in an environment designed to break your discipline. Apps send notifications to keep you glued to the screen. Fast food is engineered to be irresistible. Entertainment never ends. That's why discipline today isn't natural. It's an intentional act. How to start taking action. 1. Pick one small thing to do every day. Wake up on time. Take a 10-minute walk. Write 3 lines of reflection each night. 2. Connect your action to your values. I exercise not to look good, but to respect my body. I read because I value wisdom. 3. Forgive yourself when you fail, but don't give up. Discipline doesn't demand perfection. It requires consistency. What does psychology support? Carl Jung once said, "Freedom doesn't come from indulging every part of the self, but from integrating and guiding them." You have many parts within your mind. One wants to procrastinate. One wants to achieve. One wants to rest. Discipline is the inner leader, aligning all parts toward the person you want to become. Discipline isn't about becoming someone else. It's about returning to yourself. You don't practice discipline to prove to the world that you're tough or serious. You practice it because you're tired of living out of alignment with your beliefs. You practice discipline because you've been disappointed in yourself before, and you don't want to feel that again. And here's what matters. Even with discipline, you'll still have hard days. You'll still face setbacks, failures, betrayal, and pain. So what helps you get back up after every quiet collapse? It's your emotional resilience. And that brings us to Stoic rule number 4, emotional resilience, rising after silent falls. Even with iron discipline, even when you live with meaning, structure, and goals, there will still be days when you fall quietly. No one knows. No loud cries, no dramatic scenes. Just you alone, feeling empty, exhausted, and wanting to disappear from everything. We all have our moments of collapse. When someone you love turns away, when a plan fails, even though you gave it your all, when you're too tired of keeping it together and pretending to be strong. And the worst part isn't the pain itself. It's the feeling that you're not allowed to break down. Is Stoicism about being emotionless? Not at all. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." This doesn't mean ignoring your emotions. It means you don't let your emotions control your actions. Stoicism doesn't deny pain. It simply refuses to let pain define you. What emotional resilience is not. It's not pretending to be okay so others won't worry. It's not faking strength to fool yourself. Emotional resilience means you admit you're hurting, you understand what triggered it and how you're reacting, and you choose a deliberate way to move forward. What did Seneca say about adversity? Difficulties don't break a person, they reveal who they are. Negative emotions aren't your enemy. They're messages from within, show you what needs healing, what hasn't been understood. How to heal emotionally in the Stoic spirit. 1. Name your emotions, don't suppress them. I'm angry. I'm disappointed. I feel like a failure. No judgment, no justification, just awareness. 2. Ask the more profound questions. Where is this emotion coming from? Am I giving too much meaning to this event? What do I need right now? 3. Do something small to reconnect with yourself. Write a few lines of reflection. Take a 15-minute walk outdoors. Listen to music that brings good memories. Call someone you genuinely trust. What did Epictetus say about responsibility? It's not what happens to you that hurts, how you perceive it. You may fall into a painful situation, that might not be your fault. But how you get out of it, that is your responsibility. Psychology and resilience. Carl Jung said, "I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become." Psychology calls this resilience, one of the most essential skills for a mentally healthy life. Why is healing an act of courage? Because it requires you to face your real emotions, let go of the strong mask, say, "I need rest, I need healing," and start again from the very place you just fell. So, what should you do when you fall? 1. Pause. Don't try to act normal, just stop for a moment. 2. Breathe. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4, exhale for 4. 3. Accept, don't deny. I'm not okay today, and that's okay. 4. Choose one small thing to do, not to push through, but to begin again. Drink water. Fold the blanket. Sit quietly for 5 minutes. Write in your journal. A reminder from Marcus: when you encounter something painful, remember, you are not that pain, you are simply experiencing it. And it will pass. You are not weak because you hurt. You are strong because you face the pain and keep moving. And if you learn how to rise after every fall, you'll begin to see every moment of life, even the final one, with greater clarity. That brings us to one of the most profound rules of Stoicism, memento mori. Rule number 5. Memento mori. Live as if you could die today. We don't like talking about death. It makes us feel uneasy, afraid, and vulnerable. In modern culture, we're taught to avoid it. We dress it up with soft words like passed away or at rest. We plan for everything except the end. And every time we hear someone has died, we pause for a second, then get swept up in trivial things again. But the Stoics were different. They faced death directly, not to be haunted by it, but to be awakened by it. What does memento mori mean? In Latin, memento mori means remember that you will die. Sounds heavy? But really, it's one of the most potent reminders to live fully. What did Marcus Aurelius say? In Meditations, he wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think." Marcus was an emperor. He had everything. Yet he reminded himself daily, any day could be the last. And because of that, he lived without delay, without mediocrity, without pretending. When you truly remember that you'll die, you stop living to please others. You stop delaying your dreams for someday. You start saying, "I love you" more. You cherish even the smallest moments. You begin to live by choice, not by reaction. Instead of awakening, we're avoiding. Today's culture teaches us to fear death as something not to be mentioned. We invest in staying young, hide the signs of aging, and avoid conversations about loss. But by avoiding death, we end up wasting life. Seneca on time. It's not that we have a short time to live, but we waste a lot of it. You don't lack time. You're just spending it on things that don't truly matter. How are your days being spent? 3 hours on social media, 1 hour of aimless TV, 30 minutes replaying arguments, 2 hours worrying about things that haven't happened. If you knew you had only 30 days left, what would you do differently? Modern psychology also supports memento mori. They call it mortality awareness, the awareness of death. Studies show people who are aware of life's limits tend to live with more intention, focus on meaningful relationships, get less distracted by trivial things, feel happier overall. What did Epictetus say? How can you live rightly if you don't know how long you'll live? We often tell ourselves, there's still time, I'll get to it later. But Epictetus reminds us, nothing is guaranteed. And because of that, you don't have the luxury of living halfway. So what does it mean to live as if you could die today? Say what you need to say. Forgive when you can, not for others, but because you deserve peace. Choose what's right, not what's easy. Know what matters and what doesn't. How to apply memento mori in daily life. 1. Every morning ask yourself, if today were my last day, how would I live it? 2. Write down 5 things you're grateful for before sleeping. They don't have to be big, just be honest. 3. Set limits on things that waste your time. That time is your life, and you won't get it back. A moment of awakening. Once, Marcus wrote, "Do not act as if you were going to live forever. Everything is in motion. Live rightly before it's too late." No one wants to think about death, but when you face it, you begin to live more deeply, honestly, and completely. And when you live as if there's nothing left to delay, you stop obsessing over what others think, over how they judge you, over meaningless likes, because you understand you're not here to impress. You're here to become yourself, real and free. And that's when you're ready to move into Stoic rule number 6, freedom from others' opinions, living true to yourself. We live in an age where judgment is instant, constant, and relentless. Post a photo and you're judged. Speak your truth and you're opposed. Succeed and someone gets jealous. Fail and someone mocks you. And somewhere along the way, you start living to be accepted instead of living true to yourself. Marcus Aurelius saw this coming. You worry about what others think, yet forget they too are just lost. Over 2,000 years ago, Marcus understood something profoundly true. Most judgment comes from those who don't understand, but still rush to speak. Why are other people's opinions a form of chains? Because you begin to edit yourself to please the crowd. Because you slowly lose your inner voice. Because you fear being left behind, you do things you don't believe in. And the saddest part, you might still succeed, but feel no happiness in it. What did Epictetus say? If you want to improve, be willing to be seen as a fool. Sounds extreme? Not really. What he meant was, if you live differently, you will be misunderstood. But if you fear that, you'll never get to live authentically. The digital world makes this even worse. In the past, you were judged by a few people around you. Today, you can be judged by thousands you've never even met. One cruel comment can ruin your day. One lack of likes can make you doubt your worth. That makes us dependent on feedback instead of truth. So how do you set yourself free? 1. Remember, no one thinks about you as much as you think. Everyone's too busy thinking about themselves. 2. Ask, is this opinion coming from someone living a life I admire? If not, why let it define you? 3. Focus on your behavior, not people's reactions. If you act according to your values, you're already on the right path. A reminder from Seneca, you will never find peace if you keep chasing the approval of others. The truth is, even if you try your very best, someone will always disapprove. And if you spend your life trying to calm every one of them, you'll no longer be you. To live authentically means saying no when you need to, choosing what's right, even if it's unpopular, not pretending to please others, daring to be different when you believe it's true. The Stoics live by one simple rule. I only need to be at peace with my conscience, not with society, not with family, not with the crowd, just you and your inner voice on the same side. Psychology calls this an internal locus of control. That means you believe your worth comes from within, not from other people's opinions. People who live this way tend to worry less, be more decisive, and achieve more lasting success. How to practice this daily. 1. Write down 3 things you're proud of without needing approval. I stayed calm when I was insulted. I spoke the truth, even though I was scared. 2. When you feel judged, ask, does this define who I am? 3. Choose one small action each day that aligns with your values. It doesn't have to be big, it just has to be real. A reminder from Marcus: freedom comes when you stop worrying about what others think and start living by what you know is right. No one else can live your life for you. And in the end, the only person you honestly answer to is yourself. When you free yourself from unnecessary judgment, this rule: when the noise of the world no longer pulls you, you begin to hear something more profound, the quiet call from within, the voice inviting you to slow down, to reconnect with the sacred, even in the most ordinary of moments. And that brings us to the seventh and final Stoic rule: reconnect with nature and stillness to return to your human essence. There's a strange paradox in modern life. We live surrounded by comfort, yet feel completely disconnected from ourselves. Overloaded schedules, endless notifications, 24/7 news, and busyness has become a badge of honor. But in the middle of all that noise, have you ever felt like you're slowly drifting away from who you are? Marcus Aurelius knew this long ago. People run away to the countryside, the mountains, the sea, but the only place you truly need is the quiet within your mind. He wasn't just talking about physical escape. He was speaking of a refuge inside you. A place without noise, without judgment, without urgency, only awareness. Why is stillness so important? Because in stillness you hear your true thoughts, see what's real and what's just noise. Begin to feel life again, not as a duty but as a gift. And that is the key to returning to your human essence. What did Epictetus say? Let your inner self be a sanctuary, no matter the chaos outside. You can't control the world, but you can create space inside yourself for stillness and clarity. Nature, the greatest teacher. Nature is never in a rush, never loud, never trying to prove itself. And every time you step outside, feel the wind, hear the birds, notice the rhythm of the grass, you return to your original life force. Disconnect to reconnect. Sounds strange, but it's true. When you turn off your phone, you create space for yourself to enter. When you sit still for 10 minutes, you allow your mind to breathe. When you walk without purpose, you let your body and soul reconnect. What did Seneca say about nature? We need very little if we learn to enjoy what nature freely gives. Mountains don't need Wi-Fi. The sun doesn't need filters. Stillness doesn't require success to be earned. You need to permit yourself to slow down. Simple ways to reconnect. Take a walk outdoors, no headphones, no phone. Listen to your footsteps, the ambient sounds, the feel of the wind. Sit in silence for 10 minutes every morning. No need for perfect meditation. Just be present with yourself. Observe one thing in nature deeply: a leaf, a breeze, flowing water. Watch long enough, and you may start to see yourself. Write down something you're grateful for from the natural world. I'm grateful for the sunlight this morning. I'm grateful for the gentle rain. I'm grateful for 3 minutes of quiet during my coffee. At the heart of Stoicism is connection, not a rigid theory, not living like a logical robot, but living in awareness, with both the outer world and the inner world at the same time. And where those two worlds meet is the present moment. Marcus repeated one reminder again and again: stillness is yours. You have to choose it. We don't need more things to live intensely. We need fewer of the things that pull us away from ourselves. When you reconnect, you stop being dragged by the world. You begin to tell the difference between noise and signal. You live slower but deeper. You see your path more clearly. And most of all, you return to yourself whole and awake. So we've journeyed through 7 profound Stoic rules, not just as philosophy, but as a living roadmap for the modern world. Recap: 7 Stoic rules, a journey to rebuild the mind from within. If you've made it this far, it means you don't just want to live, you want to live right. We've explored 7 core principles, not to become perfect, but to return to your most awakened, powerful, and free self. Rule number 1, emotional discipline. You can't control life, but you can control yourself. When you learn to master your reactions, you stop being a victim of circumstance. Rule number 2, take 100% responsibility, no blame, no excuses. Stoics knew this. Responsibility is power disguised as discipline. When you own your choices, you reclaim control over your life. Rule number 3, live with purpose every day. Each morning is a chance to live intentionally, not just survive. You live by your values, not by your environment. You move through the world with clarity, not confusion. Rule number 4, recover after every fall. Stoicism never promised you wouldn't fall. It only teaches you how to rise again every time. Wounds don't weaken you. If you know how to transform them into strength. Rule number 5, memento mori. Remember you will die. Not to live in fear, but to live truthfully. Each day is your last chance to love, to choose what's right, to do what truly matters. Rule number 6, free yourself from the opinions of others. You're not here to impress anyone. You're here to stay honest with yourself. When you stop seeking approval, you start living in freedom. Rule number 7, reconnect with nature and stillness. In a noisy world, stillness is a quiet revolution. When you return to nature, you return to your true essence. No rushing, no pretending, no pressure. It all begins within. Stoic philosophy doesn't teach you to change the world. It teaches you to change yourself first. And once you do that, the world is already different. Closing thought. Turn philosophy into action. If you've made it this far, you're probably not just looking for a good video. You're looking for a new way of life, a path to step out of the cycle of confusion, pressure, and pretending, and into a life of depth, discipline, and absolute freedom. So here's the final question. Will you let these Stoic rules sit in your memory, or will you bring them into your mornings, choices, and reactions? Will you wait until everything is perfect, or will you start living right, even in the chaos? This is your moment to choose. You don't need to change the whole world. You need to start with yourself. One calm action instead of a reactive outburst. One mindful morning instead of rushing. One value-based choice instead of following the crowd. And those small intentional acts, that's the silent revolution Stoicism invites us into. If you see yourself in this journey, if you long for inner strength in a world of noise, subscribe to Sovereign Stoic today. Tap the bell never to miss deep, practical Stoic content. Share this video with a friend, someone who might need this more than you know. And comment below, which Stoic rule will you start practicing first? You are not alone in this journey. We are the ones who choose depth, while the world decides speed. We are the silent warriors, training within to be strong without. And Sovereign Stoic is your place to belong. Starting today, live like a Stoic. No need to prove, just be present.